Alright, hello and welcome to the first edition of Game Reviews by James. Today I'm going to be looking at Sonic the Hedgehog for the Sega Genesis. This game was produced by the Sonic team and Sega and was released on June 23rd of 1991. It was also the first appearance of Sonic the Hedgehog, who was intended to be Sega's mascot at the time. In terms of gameplay, Sonic the Hedgehog is just a 2D platformer, which were a dime a dozen back in the day. But this one is very unique. Can you guess why? Well, it's Sonic the Hedgehog's speed. At the time, he was said to be the fastest video game character around. The design of this game is very creative, that especially remains true for the bonus stages. The boss battles are also a very high point of this game. Though they aren't necessarily that challenging, they're very creative and fun. I mean, come on, it's Sonic and Dr. Robotnik. It's as good as it gets. The music for the boss battles is also very catchy. Another thing I enjoy about this game is the level variety. Some you can just simply speed through, while others you have to take a little more time and consideration when beating. But, like in most video games, the water levels are a pain in the butt. I'll admit though, finding air bubbles to breathe underwater is an excellent idea. In most video games, you just need to get to the end of the level. It doesn't matter if you have oxygen or not. Another thing I like about this game is the control. It's very simple. Just need the control pad and one of the jump buttons. Along with that, the controls are very responsive. This helps make for a very clean and consistent gaming experience. The only real downside I ever found of this game was that you couldn't supercharge. And for the few of you that don't know what supercharge is, it's when Sonic rolls up into a ball and can blast away at high speeds. But once again, I can't really complain because he's still very fast. And this might be nitpicking, but I found some inconsistency in the challenge of the levels. And this is probably just me, but I found that as the game progressed, the levels actually just got easier. But keeping on the subject of challenge, I loved the challenge level of this game. It wasn't too difficult, and it wasn't too easy. Going back to what I said about the level variety earlier, I really like how each level looks like it was designed by a different person. And if there's one thing for sure about Sonic the Hedgehog, it's the impact it had on the gaming community. Since its original release in the early 90s, there's been several ports, spin-offs, sequels, you name it, to the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. The franchise still even exists today. The game saw more than 3 million copies sold. And that's not even counting the re-releases of this video game. I can't speak for anyone else, but I found that the levels that you could speed through were my favorites. The sound effects and the music for this game are incredible. I'd rank them up there with some of the most iconic of all time. I also like the story of the game. Sonic's trying to recapture the Chaos Emeralds and save all the Flickies from Dr. Robotnik. Flickies are small creatures and birds. I also think the seesaw bouncer platforms are very creative. To sum up how I feel about Sonic the Hedgehog for the Sega Genesis, well, I think it's one of the greatest video games on the console, and really one of the best of all time. When I was a kid, Sonic was my favorite video game mascot. And though sequels and spin-offs were to come, it's really important to stand back and look at how far the series has come. The best word to describe this game is masterpiece. It's an excellent video game, and really there's tons of copies of it, so if you don't own it, go out and get it. If I had to rate this game on a scale of 1 to 5 stars, I'd give it 5 stars. It really is a classic game. It inspired a lot of future video games and has a lot of sequels that are also classics.